When people talk about autistic burnout, the advice is almost always the same: rest more, take a break, give it time. But that's not actually true. Rest alone doesn't fix autistic burnout. I've been in burnout more than once. And what I had to learn the hard way is that recovery from autistic burnout looks nothing like what most people think it does. So let me start with what autistic burnout is, because a lot of people confuse it with just being tired or with workplace burnout. It's not the same thing. Autistic burnout is what happens when the demands of navigating a neurotypical world exceed your capacity to cope for a sustained period of time. That means the masking, the sensory overload, the social navigation, the constant adapting, it all stacks up. And eventually, your system just can't. And for me, it didn't look like what you might expect. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. It was losing the ability to do things I used to do easily. Conversations that used to take effort but were manageable suddenly felt impossible. My sensory tolerance dropped. Things I could handle before: fluorescent lights, background noise, unexpected schedule changes, they all became too much. And here's the part that took me the longest to realize: I didn't know I was in burnout because I was still functioning. Barely. But from the outside, I looked fine. Now, here's where the standard advice breaks down. Because when you look up burnout recovery, whether it's from a doctor, a therapist, a well meaning friend, you'll hear the same thing: rest, self care, take time off. And rest is important. I'm not saying that it isn't. But for autistic burnout, rest alone isn't recovery. Here's why. When you rest after a regular stressful week, your nervous system resets, you recharge. But autistic burnout isn't just depletion. It is a state where your nervous system has been running in survival mode for so long that it has lost its ability to regulate. Rest doesn't fix that because your baseline has shifted. Think of it like this: if you're running on fumes and you stop driving, the tank doesn't refill itself. You've still got an empty tank. And for a lot of autistic people, just stopping doesn't feel restorative. It feels like the absence of everything, which is its own kind of distress. I've been on both sides of the desk in special education, and I've seen this play out over and over. Someone burns out, they take a few days off, they come back, and within weeks, they're right back where they started, because the environment that caused the burnout hasn't changed. The demands haven't changed, and the person's capacity hasn't recovered. It's just been temporarily patched. So, what does work? The first thing, and this is the hardest thing for a lot of people to accept, is reducing demands, not adding rest on top of demands, actually reducing what's being asked of you. When I was in my worst burnout, the single most helpful thing I did was cancel everything that wasn't essential: volunteer commitments, social plans I'd agreed to out of guilt, standing appointments that drained me. I kept only what I had absolutely had to do: work, basic self care, and one or two things that actually recharged me. And this is where it gets uncomfortable, because for a lot of us, reducing demands feels like failure. We've spent our whole lives learning to keep up, to mask, to push through. Saying, "I can't do this right now," goes against everything we've been taught about how to exist in this world. But autistic burnout recovery requires that you stop doing the things that are keeping you in burnout. That's not weakness. That's the prerequisite for recovery. One practical way to start: make a list of everything you do in a typical week, every commitment, every obligation, every social expectation. and be honest about which ones drain you and which ones don't. Then, temporarily remove as many of the draining ones as you can. Not forever, just long enough for you and your system to come back online. The second thing, not all rest is the same. This is something I had to learn the hard way. There's a difference between what I call numb rest and restorative rest. Numb rest is when you're so depleted that you just scroll or stare or lie there unable to do anything. It's not really rest. It's more like shutdown. Your body stopped, but your nervous system is still running. Restorative rest is different. It's your rest that actually engages your sensory system in a way that regulates it. For me, that's repetitive movement, pacing, rocking, stimming freely without trying to suppress it. It's listening to the same song on repeat. Yes, it's being in a dark, quiet room with no expectations. It's doing something that feels like nothing to anyone else but lets my nervous system actually come down from red alert. And a lot of what I used to think of as wasting time, rewatching the same show, playing the same game, doing the same repetitive activity, that wasn't wasting time. That was regulation. My brain was doing exactly what it needed to do. The third thing, and this is the one that most resources skip entirely, is that you have to change something about what put you in burnout in the first place. Because here's what happens. You rest, you recover a little, you go back to the exact same life that burned you out, and then you burn out again. And each time, your baseline drops a little more. Your capacity shrinks. Recovery takes longer. So, what does changing the environment around you actually look like? It depends on your situation. But here are some examples from my own life and from people I've worked with. Reducing sensory load. That might mean noise canceling headphones at work, changing your lighting, adjusting your schedule so you're not in the busiest, loudest environments during peak hours. It might mean working remotely if that's an option. Reducing masking. This one is harder. But if social interactions are a primary driver of your burnout, finding ways to be more authentically yourself, even in small ways, reduces the constant drain of performing. And this is where my experience as an educator comes in. In schools, we talk about accommodations for autistic students, but autistic adults need accommodations too. And most of the time, no one offers them. You have to create them yourself. If any of this resonates with you, if you've been told to just rest and it hasn't worked, or if you're realizing that what you thought was laziness might be burnout, I'd really appreciate you subscribing. This channel exists to make conversations like this one normal because a lot of us went too long without hearing any of it. So let me put this all together. Autistic burnout is not about pushing through. It's not about resting harder. It's about three things: reducing demands, finding rest that actually regulates your nervous system, and changing enough about your environment that you don't end up right back in burnout the moment you return to your work life. And for me, it didn't look like a dramatic turnaround. It looked like slowly getting back small parts of myself, being able to tolerate a little more sensory input, being able to hold a conversation without needing hours to recover afterward, being able to do something I enjoy without guilt for not doing something productive. It was slow. It was nonlinear and setbacks. And I'm not going to pretend I have it all figured out, but I know this. The people who recover from autistic burnout are not the ones who push through. They're the ones who finally stop pushing and start rebuilding from a place that works for their actual brain, not the brain everyone else expects them to have. Masking may help someone survive short term, but long term, it comes at a very high cost. The same is true for burnout recovery. What helps short term, pushing through, ignoring it, waiting for it to pass, always costs more later. If this was helpful, I'd love to hear from you. What has your experience with burnout recovery been like? What's actually worked for you? Leave a comment. I read every single one. And if you want more conversations like this, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.